The sea's vastness is as terrifying as its depths are mysteriously sinister, with ominous whispers all over its existence. Amongst these whispers, there was the most horrifying story of a haunted ship that has always sent shivers down the spine of those who dared to listen to it. This incident took place on October 18, 2010, when a huge yet scary shape emerged at an abandoned port in Australia. Curiosity increased for the locals when they saw it was getting closer day by day, but no one seemed to respond until one day it got close enough that everyone could see that it was a huge and abandoned ship. Not a single person appeared to be inside, living or dead. There was no one inside that ship, but still, people had seen a little girl around the ship, sometimes floating like a dead body or sometimes standing at the edge of the ship, looking at the beach. The officials took the task of evacuating the girl or retrieving the goods inside the ship to figure out everything about that ship. But whoever went inside that ship either died mysteriously or came out running and screaming, saying that the ship was haunted and there was someone following them inside it. Some even said that there was a demon inside that ship. When a Marine officer who happened to be a paranormal investigator, Donald, got to know those rumors, got curious about them, and began to plan his visit to the ship. He came up with the idea that he would break into that ship at night and explore it alone, so that he could experience the haunting of that ship alone. By then, it was rumored that the girl wandering around that ship was a passenger of that ship, who got a maniac and killed everyone in that boat. But no one was able to find even a single dead body. Then finally, Donald was able to make it to the beach with some instruments and a camera in his bag, where he rented a small boat to get near that huge ship on the port. He knew that whatever the rumors might be, one thing was sure, that the ship was haunted or had sinister secrets hidden within its dark cabins. He wanted to unravel all the ominous mysteries related to that ship. He jumped on the dock of the ship from the small boat, and as he got inside that ship, he saw that crushed and broken pieces of glass were all over the place. That ship was completely deserted, with a layer of dust over the chairs and instruments of that ship. It was even burnt from a few places. That scared Donald of the possibility of a gas leak. He was recording everything on his camera when he heard the sound of glass crushing just behind him on the floor, as if someone was walking behind him. He turned around to see if there was anyone and didn't see anything, but as he turned back in front, there was a creepy-looking girl very close to his face, with bruises all over her body, small broken pieces of glass sticking inside her face skin, and her face was half burnt as well. The crooked girl began to scream at his face with her mouth abnormally wide open, and Donald fell on the floor trying to run away from it. All of a sudden, everything around him began to tremble as if a tsunami had hit the ship, and Donald was being dragged by an unknown force. After some time, everything settled in, and Donald thought of leaving the ship before it killed him. But all of a sudden, all the doors of that ship closed and he was trapped inside. He was shivering with fear, and when he turned around again to find another way out, there she was. The crooked and creepy girl with bruises all over her face was standing just behind him. She looked as if she was dead, and her body was possessed by a demon. Donald got hit by another unseen force and flew to the corner of the ship, which had tanks of petrol that fell when his body struck them. Right there, he saw a tape as well, which had its reel around it. He quickly grabbed it and put it in his bag, whereas that demonic girl was still following him. As her looked around and didn't see her, he thought of finding another way out when all of a sudden, he heard a creepy giggle around him. He looked everywhere and didn't see anything, but as he looked up, the girl was hanging down the ceiling, like a spider with her hair all over her face, and it was looking at Donald with a creepy smile on its face. He quickly picked up the oil tanker beside him and started spraying it all over the place. He took his cigarette lighter out of his pocket and threw it at that girl. She began to burn and the place around him also caught fire. He threw an empty oil tanker at a window beside him. and ran towards it when it broke. He jumped out of the ship from that broken window, but as he got into the water and looked back at the ship, the fire had already stopped, and that creepy demonic girl was standing at the window looking at him with that same creepy smile on its face. He swam to the beach and began to run when he got on the land. He took his car and drove immediately to his place. Now, he only had one thing to reveal the secrets of that haunted hip, that mysterious tape that he found inside the ship. He thought of resting for the night and then going through that tape in the morning, but he could sleep through the whole night. All the secrets of that ship and the demonic girl were haunting him and weren't letting him sleep. He adjusted that tape and cleaned it to play it on his computer. He transferred the tape to his USB and injected it into his computer, and what he found inside shook him badly. His heart was beating out of his chest as the video loaded, and when it played, he was stunned to see that video. The video began with the atmosphere of a party. It was as if everyone was celebrating someone's birthday with extreme joy, and someone was recording the celebration on their camera. There was a table with a large cake, and behind the table, there was a strange-looking man and a girl who looked similar to that demonic girl he saw on the ship. Everyone had gathered around the other tables, and they were eating their food with forks and knives. Donald saw that in the background, that strange-looking man raised his arms in the air and began to chant something loudly. And suddenly, everyone around him began to stick those forks into their heads again and again. Then the one recording the video with the camera began to attack himself as well, because of which camera fell on the floor. But still it showed a clear view of that table with the cake. Everyone died except for two people, a man who seemed in his 40s, chanting something that Donald couldn't understand, and that girl. All of a sudden, that man threw the cake away and dragged that girl to tie her up on that table. He broke a bottle, and with its sharp edge, he began to cut himself from his arm, and then he cut that girl from various parts of the body as well. He threw both of their blood on the floor on which he had already drawn some ancient demonic ritualistic setup. It was evident that the ritual required the sacrifice of that girl. He burnt that table on which the girl was tied. But all of a sudden something strange happened, as if that strange man got possessed. He began screaming, and then with that same sharp edge of the bottle he stabbed himself and fell on the floor. The burning table somehow freed that girl, who was half burned as well. When she began to walk away, she tripped on something and fell on the broken glass of that bottle. An unseen force began to drag that girl away, and then the body began to move as if she got possessed as well. The girl who was lying there suddenly stood up like a crooked figure, with her arm and neck twisted, and as she turned back and looked at the camera, Donald jumped on his seat watching the video when he got to know that it was that same girl. Then the video began to distort mysteriously, and then it stopped. After that, he researched about the ship from the pictures he got on his camera, and luckily he found the passenger list of that ship. That ship was reported missing 2 years ago in the ocean, and no one had ever reported about that ship since then until Donald got to know about it. The youngest girl on that passenger list was 19 years old, named Rosie, and upon searching more about her, he got to know that it was the same girl. He found her number, and when called it over and over again, a man picked the call up. He claimed to be Rosie's boyfriend, and he told Donald that 2 years back, she went on vacation with her uncle, and since then she has been missing. He told him that police broke into her uncle's place and found out that he was part of some ancient cult and wanted to perform some demonic ritual in the ocean. But unfortunately, nothing else was found besides it. Now Donald knew everything about that ship, that demonic girl, and that strange man. As he ended the call and turned to look at his laptop, he saw the terrifying face of the same girl, as if she was standing right behind him. That scared him, and he began to scream. Then he threw that tape away along with that USB that had the video on it. The horrifying memory of that incident still haunts him in his dreams. If this story sent shivers down your spine too, hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe the channel for more of these stories. And remember, darkness can hide in the familiar. trust your instincts, and stay safe out there. Until next time, sleep well.